Greetings everyone. This is a very hot topic and I wanted to explain it since long time ago, and I did not have the opportunity to have a C Castle 40. I finally reached Castle 40, so I wanted to talk about the new tier 14 which we had for a couple of months now, and the cavalry tier 14. Which one of them is actually better and which one of them is superior to the other one? Let's talk about some of the unique abilities which infantry has and the unique abilities that the cavalry has in general. If we are going to take a C40 castle, so there is a basic question: which one of them is better? Is it the cavalry or it's infantry? Guys, if you paid attention, on every single tier of the infantry, the defensive stats for the infantry in general is way much better when it comes to cavalry. However, let me explain to you one thing which is very important when it comes to reductions in the game. Cavalry has dodge. Infantry has nothing, almost nothing, because it's an HP for the increase, which is completely pointless. But when it comes to the reductions itself, infantry is way superior. However, reductions in game works in a different way. For example, let's say you have 100% reduction. Okay, this 100% reduction is not actually 100% reduction. The first 100% reduction you're getting as an infantry or cavalry or anything, like say 100% taking less damage from mages or from any sources in the game, it's actually half. So the first 100% you are getting is 50%. And the more you stack the reductions, the less you are getting. For example, the first 100%, as I said, is 50. The second 100% is 16. Yes, so if you have a 200% reduction from mages, you're actually taking a 66% less damage from mages. And the diminishing return keeps on increasing the more you stack on the reductions. However, when it comes to cavalry, even though I don't like cavalry, the dodge is actually very fucking powerful, and I could say broken. Now, it's completely different layer, and you are getting 16% dodge. What is the point of dodge? Basically every 7 attacks, almost, or 6 attacks, you are going to dodge one of those attacks, or maybe 2, based on your luck, which again works way much better than the reduction. However, this is good only for the high tier players, high spenders only, because naturally cavalry requires this skill to be even powerful, to be even tanky. Infantry doesn't even require increasing the health for it to be even powerful. Not only that, the tiers of the infantry benefits more because of the amount of the players that is using mages. Now, ignore the tier 13, but let's take a tier 10 for example. It gives you one of the most fucking needed abilities in the game, which is mage resistance. And mage resistance works in a completely different way than the normal reductions. Allow me to explain. Passives from the troops itself that you gain, the passive ability, is completely different than the abilities you are seeing in the reports or the reductions. For example, if you have 50% reduction on the mage, it's not a 50% reduction, as I said, it's going to be 25% reduction. If you have 100, it's 50%, but this one is a complete total 25% reduction. If you're supposed to get 1,000 damage, you're going to get a 750 damage. It's pure 25%, and it has nothing to do with your reductions which you have in the game or you have stacked already. This is a different multiplier, this is a different result, this is a different mechanics. This reduction from mages is completely has its own equation, which makes infantry one of the most fucking amazing for low spenders, free to play, or even mid spenders. Now, when you go to the odd tiers, you are going to lose that. Why? Because it requires you first to be in on the defender side, and it's gonna give you a 15% HP if you are only defender, and we all know that defending is actually fucking shit on the game. But again, you are going to get it back at tier 12. And guys, I have been playing the game for many years right now, and I have only been fucking playing with tier 12 my whole life. I recently got tier 13, but I promise you it is more of a downgrade than upgrade despite the stats I'm having. But whenever I'm facing a mages or something, I always use tier 12. If I am facing an archers, I'm going to be using the infantry tier 13 because it obviously has more stats, which allows me to sustain more in battle. But if it's going to be a battle versus mages, I will obviously use tier 12. Now things is completely different when it comes to tier 13. In tier 13 you are getting archer reductions at the tier 13 itself, which is fucking amazing because top players are using archers when they are at the end game. Many of the top players are switching now and using archers, so having an archer reduction is actually fucking decent. That's why this tier 13 of the cavalry is actually more tanky and better than the infantry. However, things are going to change completely when you go to tier 14. Let me explain. So you decided to go to tier 14. Tier 14 has two options, infantry and cavalry. So if you wanted to compare, you should compare to the things that you have earned previously. For example, in tier 13, I am a cavalry player. I have 25% reduction from archers. What did I gain by being at tier 14? Here, tier 14 reduces damage taken from archers and mages. So basically, in paper, you have only gained 25% reduction from mages. Is this a good thing? That's a fucking good thing, because mages are the nemesis of cavalry. If you guys paid attention, at tier 13, you are dealing a 30% damage to cavalry. Now, when you go to a tier 14 as a mage, you are going to lose that. You are only going to get 20% damage versus everything. So, cavalry gains more advantage as tier 14 because the mages loses 10% of the damage they used to deal to the cavalry, and the cavalry gains 25% damage against the mages, which makes the cavalry here the winner if they are going to face mages. So this is a beneficial if you are someone who is struggling or facing a mages, because that's a free 25% extra damage, which comes in total of 5 extra damage. Like if you were tier 13, you have no resistance. You have no resistance at all. And in fact, mages will fucking eat you. Mages have a 30% versus you. They nuke the fuck out of you with 30%. But as soon as you hit tier 14, you are going to get 25 reduction from mages, and mages are going to lose 10% damage when they are dealing with cavalry, which makes mages actually a horrible pick if they are going to face cavalry. Now cavalry has this huge advantage, all the way extra 5% over the previous over the previous tier 13 of the mages, not the cavalry percent. But of course, cavalry has already gained 25%. But I'm just saying how powerful they become versus mages, which again weakens the purpose of mages. Mages used to be a killers when it comes to cavalry. Now mages has lost that, but they have gained the damage bonus against all troops, which means they are dealing more damage to infantry, angels, and against any attackers, any type of attackers, which is not really that useful, because if you reach archers, you're supposed to actually kill them. They are not tanky, none of those are tanks. But again, this is beneficial if you are attacking infantry, because you had no buffs versus infantry. But now let's talk about infantry. We have talking about the advantage of cavalry here. Now let's talk about infantry. Infantry at tier 13 was complete garbage, pure trash. It's the worst tier, actually, is tier 13 of the infantry. However, things change when you become tier 14 as an infantry. Why? Tough physique is gained, which takes 20% less damage from all the fucking sources in the game. This affects beasts, this affects anything. This even, I'm not sure if it affects pure damage or not, but it literally affects any sources of the damage in the whole game. Imagine going from 0 to a hero with a fucking single skill passive. You had literally nothing, don't count this fucking shitty HP, and you are gained the best skill in the whole fucking game. You have now a reduction from angels, 20%. Reductions from archers, 20%, which is something you never had. You gain back 20% damage from mages, which negates the whole buff that mages had on the tier 14. Yes, the mages had nothing versus infantry, they had buff versus cavalry, but again, it's almost you are facing a mages without any buffs at all. I mean, without any passive buffs, because this 20% will get negated already by your 20%, which makes it even more fantastic. Not only that, if you are going to face a tier, any tier basically of the mages that is not tier 14, you are going to tank the fuck out of them. Which is why it is really, I consider infantry to be the winners of this patch. I'm not gonna talk about archers, I'm not gonna talk about more mages, I just wanted to tell you which one of them is actually better, if it is infantry or cavalry. So if we are going to nominate one of the winners on this video, it's going to be obviously the infantry. Again, 20% reduction is literally 20% reduction from all sources of the game. It doesn't stack with your reductions because it's completely different modifier. Not only that, keep in mind once you unlock the final skill with which is interfere, you are going to take less damage from angels, which is again going to affect your backline, and you can suck all of that damage, because I believe Camel will upgrade angels, because angels has not received any upgrades recently, and maybe by the end of this year or this year mages might get a mystic upgrade, which would even make infantry more broken. So if you are a low spender, if you are a mid spender, even if you have a fucking high spender, infantry is going to dominate in the end when it comes to tier 14. Believe it or not, I'm not here to convince you, I'm already convinced. I have my achievement already. I killed countless top players with infantry having less way spending, even before the introduction of the fucking what do you call the totems and stuff. The judgment is completely up to you guys. It's your own money, so whether you want cavalry, infantry, play whatever you like. That's it guys, see you soon, goodbye.